Hey everyone, I have here the LEGO Creator 3-in-1 2024 set called Wild Safari Animals, but you probably know it as the Giraffe set. I paid $65 US for this 6.5, and it has 780 pieces. In this video, I'm just going to be covering the main model, the one that uses all of the official pieces, but I will cover the other two very interesting looking alternate builds in separate videos. I figure it's valuable to show you the scale of this relative to a minifigure right there, but immediately I see that I need to explain this and this. Each one of these heart rhinestones attached to my hands, and looks like one of them fell off there, represents a donation to charity from a viewer during the live streamed build of this set right here. The charity that we're fundraising for on this day is called Games for Love. You can find out more information about them at gamesforlove.org. And I have to give another huge thank you and thank yous out there to all of the very kind and generous viewers who together donated over $3,800 to help this organization in supporting kids with gaming and distraction therapy at children's hospitals, and also STEM and STEAM activity kits and other things supporting children's care facilities around the world in 11 different countries. An absolutely overwhelming, incredible outpouring of support from the community in the context of just building this set right here. Now, everything that you see on the screen right now, other than the table, is part of one single set. So to be very clear about that, you buy one single box for its one price, and all of this is built at one time. That is together the main model build. And then there are other optional builds as usual, since it is a 3-in-1, and I'll cover those in separate videos. I'm going to spend most of my time, of course, looking at the main thing that we're here for. But for now, I'm just going to pull these side builds off to the side and just let you see the rest of this from some different angles. It does, oops, sorry about that. It does look good, doesn't it? It's not scaled to minifigs. No, you still see a little bit of the tree off to the side here. Sorry about that. We'll zoom in a little bit. No, it's not scaled to minifigs scale at all, but that's okay. But look at it. The head especially is something truly special, because they really captured the dimensions, the shape, and almost the emotional feel of looking at a giraffe's head. I believe this is intended to represent a reticulated giraffe, just like the specially molded one that they did in the Friends line. Was that about a year ago? Just from the pattern. I might be wrong about that, but look at this. That's Lego, folks. That's a little Lego thing. Doesn't use a lot of pieces. It's just masterfully done, in my opinion. That right there just really impresses me. Of course, that's not enough to make the set worth it or anything, but it's a really good start. You can move these around, you can move them forward and back. You can adjust the angles of these if you want a little bit. I think they probably should be closer, a little bit closer to vertical, shouldn't they? I think that's right. But there's just enough friction in this joint to hold the head, and it does have a little bit of limited range of motion. All through here, all of this is built up with genuine pieces. There's a lot of texture on the outside. This is actually kind of blocky here, but you don't see it so readily because there are so many different shapes made with the tiles. It's a lot blockier actually than it looks like from any kind of reasonable distance, I think. Got all upside down building here with the upside down hollow studs and various jumpers there. There is a major joint right in here, and I'll show you a little bit about the articulation of this overall. But you see that the exterior surface is pretty consistent. Even though building is done in many different directions at different points, it still feels like it's detailed to the same degree all the way around. And I'm not seeing a whole lot of the interior builds. I'm not seeing a whole lot of the interior stuff. I'm not seeing a whole lot of things, a whole lot of mass here, visual mass that distracts me from the subject, or that kind of takes me out of the feeling of just appreciating what is here. Now, when I looked at the pictures of this, I saw that there were these hinge pieces, the hinge plate pieces in here, and I thought that this had some. There's also a pair of them back here, but those are just used as plates here. They are not actually used for for articulation. So there's no articulation within the leg. There's articulation just down here at the ankle on either side. But again, I'll show you the whole thing. But that did surprise me in a negative way because I was expecting that there. With the tail, you got plenty of motion, including the ability to wag side to side. And the idea here is that this kind of the thicker bulb of hair. And then on this particular one, it's just kind of, instead of being frilled at the end, it just kind of all comes together. All right, let's look at what this can do. First, let's see just how straight this will go. So you angle that up. Oh yeah, just fits in frame right there. And again, for the sake of scale, that's a minifig. The head is longer than a minifig. That's impressive. Okay, so we're off to a good start. And then bringing it down, how far this joint goes. And notice also the position of this joint was done pretty smart. It could have been made lower down, but this position allows there to be a nice amount of downward flex to it. There does have to be a hole here, unfortunately, on the front to allow that space. It's not flexible, it is Lego after all, but that's pretty smart there. It gives a good range of motion, still not nearly enough. Also, the hump, I think, is pretty appropriate for the shoulders, or I guess it's not really shoulders. The shoulders are here, but there's a shoulder area hump as viewed from the outside that these do have. Probably not that sharp, but it's in the right place. And yeah, it's probably just a little bit high only, but that's really a nitpick. Problem here is that this poor giraffe is not able to drink water like that, right? It needs to be able to get down to the ground. So let me zoom in here a little bit. Let's see if we can get this a little bit lower to the ground with the help of leg articulation. So pulling these legs forward, I think that's the limit right there. You can also bring the hooves back straight. Still definitely not enough, right? It's closer, but still not there. However, watch this splay action. Oh my gosh. Shocks me every time just how far that goes. And that, ladies and gentlemen, that is why we do not have articulation at the elbows or the front knees here for this one, so that it's able to get into this extreme articulation with these skinny little legs, but still be stable. That's actually quite good. Now it's very close to the ground. Was there one? Oh, there's one more snap. You do have to be careful, I found, at these limits of articulation here. Some of these parts up at the shoulders can start to splay apart. You can overdo it. You can see right there. So that's the one thing to look out for. One thing that limits this a bit in terms of play. If a kid wants to do this a lot, or an adult, anybody wants to do this a lot, you may find these parts starting to come apart. And if they fall off, that may be just a frustrating thing. So you do have to be careful about that. But notice now, this is practically able to get to the ground. You can imagine with the long tongue that giraffes have, it's probably able to drink from a little puddle. I guess I could bring this up as well just to make it a little bit more vertical from the rear, and these can splay also if you want. I think it's just one click there. Yeah, there we go. Now the hooves are straight on the ground. This looks so good to me though. I've only seen giraffes in person in zoos a couple of times, not this same type of giraffe. But I've seen them on Nat Geo and stuff like that. I've seen them on TV a lot. And everything that I'm seeing here from every angle reads to me, as someone who is not a giraffe historian, giraffe scholar, giraffe obsessed person, everything here reads to me as right for the physics of a giraffe, which are really, really extreme physics as nature goes. It looks right to me. It feels right. And it impresses me that much stuff is being held up by these skinny little legs effectively. And when it's time to bring it back, just bring it back. It works. Now you can put this into a slight walking pose, but you're mostly going to do it with leg going forward. And it's a little bit of a stretch there to try to get the lower body up. That went too far. To try to make it look like it's in motion. It tends to end up leaning a little bit. So it's difficult to find a spot where you're, because you're not able to bend at all. So it's difficult to find a spot. You end up having to splay a leg that's away from you to try to get the legs to look like they're moving front to back, but then it's all like that. So that's a little bit awkward. Now one leg is off the ground and stuff. So if you want the walking, running poses easily, you're gonna have to compromise a little bit. Maybe something like that, something in between. I wasn't able to find anything that looked and felt really good to me for a proper walking pose. Actually, looking at it right now, I think this is the best I've ever gotten, as far as at least getting all of the feet on the ground. This one is splayed a little bit too much, but that's just about it. And then if I bring that in, it's going to be leaning over too much. So there are limitations to this, but what is here and what does work works really well. The tree is a pretty fast build. Doesn't take a whole lot of time to put it together. Doesn't have much in the way of complex build techniques, but it's good. It has enough randomness to it. I think that Lego often doesn't get that right. Often either goes just way too robotic, way too mechanical feeling, or just too small in some way. This has height, doesn't use too many pieces. Oh yeah, sometimes obviously they make huge trunks that just take a ton of pieces, still end up with not enough foliage. But this feels like a pretty decent balance. For the number of pieces that are used here, it feels pretty good. What I like least are just these green colored elbow connectors, the angled Technic connectors. I wish that all of those were brown. There might be something in particular that they're going for in terms of the look, but it's not the best. But the shaping, I think, is very nice and feels, like I said, organic. I can imagine adding birds to this and things. And even down here at the trunk, even though it's fairly simple, it looks pretty good to me. So I'm happy with this. And then there's the flamingo, which I think the flamingo is at a different scale, a significantly different scale from the giraffe, which is a little bit awkward, but that's okay. It's really just a side build. And I think to be most effective with this, to make it feel right, just think of forced perspective. So you've got this closer to you. The overall stance of this is nice. You have a limitation with the legs. You can pose them a little bit differently. Two of the most interesting things about this are the head made with the Overwatch pistol there. Effective, small build, works. You can turn this a little bit in a fairly appropriate way. And then underneath, this is really cool. I hadn't recognized previously that reality of Lego math, that you could use the 1 by 1 by 2/3 modified brick that has a stud on the side and is round on one side. You use 2 of those plus that's a connector, so basically effectively the thickness of a plate, to give you this motion on 2 parts in the width of 2 studs right here. So each of these are studs on the side, and you get this really strong connection with a single axis of movement in 2 spots within the space of just 2 studs side to side. That's pretty good, and it's really useful. I definitely have learned from that and definitely hope to be able to use that in the future, because it's a good technique and a good basis for additional techniques. This does feel pretty feathery, and the shaping of the body, especially just how the wings tend to be kind of fluffy and round. As soon as a flamingo has any interest in moving, it kind of moves the feathers out of the wing, kind of rounds them around. So this captures that. I don't know if that's the intent, but that's what I see in it. And overall, this is not great, but as just a small side build, in addition to the main model that you get, it's definitely not bad. And it was interesting to me. And lastly, these are the only leftover parts when you do the main build. Again, I paid $65 US for this. It's 65 euros, 60 pounds UK, $85 Canadian, which is approximately the same as the US price when you do the currency conversion. Again, 780 pieces for this. When I first saw it, I thought it looked a little bit overpriced, but seeing its height helps to establish the value, but more importantly than that, the build helps to establish the value, because this does have a lot of small pieces, and it does have a lot of 1 wide and 2 wide pieces, a lot of which go into these lanky things, the neck, legs, the tree trunk, and such. So The actual process of putting it together felt like more than it looks like, I think, at first glance from the outside. I still kind of would like it to be just a little bit cheaper than that. It would feel better to me if it was a little bit cheaper. But the value is definitely coming to me. And I think if you like what you see, what you've seen so far, and you think the price is okay, I think you're going to feel even better if you buy it and then build it. However, I personally would still love to see a small discount, which is something that is likely because the Creator 3-in-1s often don't sell that great, and they're often designed, I believe, with their price points to be discounted a little bit by retailers. I've not even built the alternate models yet, the B and C models. They look pretty good to me, and I'm sure that those will help to establish, for me, even better, the total value of the whole set. But just looking at this as a main build, which is interesting to get 3 completely separate things in a single main build for a 3-in-1. At least they kind of go together, though. Again, this one, the scale is a bit off. It feels good. Even the tree, which is often a weakness, an absolute weakness of Lego sets, it's fine. But obviously the giraffe is fantastic. Would have been nice to get more articulation, but how? Definitely would not have wanted more articulation at the expense of strength. Would not have wanted this to fall apart easily. As it is, it does have that one limitation right here in the front shoulder. You don't want to go too far with that. It will loosen itself back up. But as long as you're just a little bit careful with it, I think it's fine. It's just something again to look out for if this ends up in the hands of a kid and is being played with on a regular basis. Just give them a little warning that, hey, that can't be played with too rough. But I'm happy with this overall. Looking forward to, unfortunately, taking it all apart, but more importantly, putting it back together 2 times for those alternate builds. Separate videos will be done for that. The disassembly and reassembly will be done in live streams, most likely just on Twitch. And once again, speaking of live stream, thank you to everybody who's watching this, who participated in the main live stream build of this, whether it was on YouTube or on Twitch for the special event supporting Games for Love. Got the Games for Love heart back there. That's what that's all about. Again, you can check them out at gamesforlove.org. And thank you to all of you who supported that. Absolutely overwhelming outpouring of kindness and generosity for a wonderful, wonderful cause. So thank you, everybody, for watching. More to come. We'll keep busy, and I'll talk to you again soon.